was 67, now down to 66,900. Mm.
Yeah, let me check.
This morning my time was 67 200. Now it's 66 900, or sometimes down 800. Mm.
2075 US dollar, 0.53 per
Oh,
ounce, 75.
okay, you multiply that 32.15 equals,
Yeah,
how much is that?
what is that?
You multiply that to 32.15 equals
250?
32.15. You multiply that, then the result is uh, the price is 66,720. Mm.
The kilo is 66,739.
Yes, that's correct. Mm.
Yeah.
Because I have to explain that so that the international buyer would understand, because they don't understand per ounce. So I always explain that you always multiply 32.15 equals the result of the per kilo.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
this is the ounce,
Yeah,
which is the equal to gram.
that's correct. Mhm.
Yeah. Well, that's how it is. Unfortunately.
Last night I was talking to the operation manager, and the government has changed. Okay, the government would not allow any foreigner to take the gold without full payment. Mhm. Most of the seller offer cheap price because that gold has been smuggled from border to border. Now, for example, if the buyer wanted to buy gold in Sierra Leone or in Mali or in Conakry, the procedures are all the same. Now, when the buyer purchase gold, the gold has to be fully paid before they're gonna bring it to the central bank. And
Uh-huh.
yes, because the government has lost money because of this scrupulous international buyer. Now, what I was explained, even though I know, but I have to explain it to you so that you will understand as well. Now, when the buyer send a letter of interest, okay, attention to me or attention to you, and then you're gonna send it to me. So the buyer has to say, there's so and so, I am buying gold, I'm looking for 22 plus, I'm looking for the purity 96, 97, and I am intending to make into jewelry, or I'm intending to refine into 99.99. So that 99.99, whatever the price of the gold every day, to, I'm talking about today, the price is 67, right? That is refined.
Yeah.
So the buyer is buying unrefined, so we give them discount in
Yes.
order for the buyer to get the profit. Now, going back to the rules and regulation. So the buyer has to sign a contract first. He has to apply to buy in order for him to receive a contract and confirmation, the vital information of the seller and the vital information of the buyer. So we're gonna exchange the vital information before the buyer will travel to any part of Africa. Mhm. So then the gold will be inspect in the office. The buyer has to bring his gold analyzer in order for him to satisfy what he's looking for. Because gold has many uses. And gold has two kinds of gold, low grade and high grade. Now on the low grade
Mhm.
can make into $1, $2. On the low grade can make into full state or mobile phone, spare parts on mobile phone. The high grade is to make into jewelry and to refine it into 99.99. So there are two kinds of gold. That's the reason why most buyers and seller fail to consummate the contract because the seller have no idea. The seller is a villagers, right? The villagers, and he wanted to make money, he wanted to sell, and the buyer is ignorant because he was being offered cheap price. Then that buyer, he gonna lose money. I was talking to the Indian last night. He pretend to be
Mm-hmm.
dumb, and he knows, and he is in Nigeria right now. He said to me, in Nigeria, they have gold, but they wouldn't sell cheap price. You know how much the Nigerian government sell the gold? 3% less.
No.
3%
Three.
less.
Okay.
Yes. So I was laughing. He's Indian and he has an office in Dubai. So he was just
Okay. Right.
measuring my brain, and I told him, you asked silly question, and I've given you silly answer. Now going back to this Conakry or Mali or Sierra Leone. So when the gold inspected in the office, because the seller has an office, right?
Yes.
So when he inspect the gold, he has to make a payment. The gold cannot be brought to the central bank. So before the gold has to be brought to the central bank, the payment would be transferred into the seller's bank account
Yes.
in order for the buyer to show that he paid the gold, and then the seller will make an application to the central bank that he is going to bring the gold to central bank, and the gold will be assay, right? So if the buyer wanted to come to the central bank, he can, but the seller will inform the central bank that he is going to bring his client in order to witness the assay. Why? The central bank is getting tougher because there's so many hold upping, so you cannot just enter into central bank to walk in. It's big no. I myself, I go to church when I was in Conakry. The church across to Central Bank. There's so many
Mm-hmm.
security. The CTVs are everywhere. Mhm. So that is how the buyer will follow the golden rules. So when the gold will be brought to the central bank, the seller will show the cash inflow. So then the central bank, where is the cash inflow? Because the central bank will give the certificate of clearance that the gold of the owner of the gold is free of illegal activities. Mhm. So then the payment would be clear within 72 hours. After 72 hours, that is the time that the seller will process all the paperwork in order for the buyer to bring it to his destination. He would be given an asset report, attestation, certificate of clearance, custom clearance, ownership, etc. It is on the full corporate offer which I put online. Okay, so then the armor car will carry from Central Bank to the airport to ship it to the buyer's destination. Now, going back to the buyer says, oh, I want the gold to ship brings to brings. Now, brings is a logistic, just like DHL. Brings would
Yes.
not accept any precious mineral without full export documentation. The Brinks will
Yes.
not accept it. So therefore, if the buyer wants Brinks to Brinks, yes, he has to inform his Brink because we don't have any account on Brinks. My seller has a logistic. He will bring the gold, or he will endorse it to Brinks. The Brinks will pick up to Central Bank and then carry because this is a FOB. So the gold must be fully paid, even in Mali, exactly the same, must be fully paid. Even in Sierra Leone, the gold must be fully paid before the gold leave the country of origin. Why? The government has losing tremendous money, and the country has been savaged by scrupulous buyer, gold launderer, and money launderer. So that was the explanation to me last night, even though I know, but I did repeat it to the operation manager, and the operation manager, the government is getting strict. If you are a small timer, you wouldn't get the gold this time. You wouldn't. If you don't follow the golden rules of the country. There are so many buyers pretending to be a buyer who travel to Sierra Leone, travel to Ghana, travel to Kampala. What happened? Disaster. Because the seller didn't even explain it. Yeah, see? So now the buyer has to follow. Or any small trader, he wouldn't be able to get the gold. I can guarantee you. 2024, if he doesn't follow the golden rules, even the big company, he wouldn't get any precious mineral. No more. Because the foreigner has been tarnished. There's so many buyers in Dubai lost money because he was being offered cheap price. Mhm. So now, I was being instructed, Wilhelmina, if the buyer cannot show his credential, he is not a buyer. So those joker broker on LinkedIn, on WhatsApp, on Facebook that he has a buyer, he is going to fail. I'm telling you, Ramis. Mhm. So that is how. And I'm gonna give you the copy of my explanation to you so that you can explain it to your buyer, that the buyer has to follow. If he wants gold, he has to pay for it. You got me?
Yeah, clearly, yeah. If you can also update me as written this new terms and condition, I believe it will affect our full corporate offer because uh, what we've been doing regularly after the essay, checking the physical inspection of the commodities in the seller company, mining company office. So as long as buyer satisfying with the quality of the product, was asking either with 30, either with 40% down payment. So that is the time our seller was taking the gold to the central bank. Now the procedure in that subject has been totally changed. The buyer has to pay fully payment of the total invoice. So this is will be new update for the buyers.
No, the buyer when the gold has been asked, he before the gold to be brought to the central bank, he has to make a payment. He has to.
Yeah, but it was not fully payment, either way 30 or 40% or 50%,
It
how they
depends
agree.
on
But now,
it depends
according to your
on
explanation, yeah.
no, it depends on the meeting. Because sometimes when I was
Mhm.
there in the office, I brought the buyer would make a deposit. Mhm. Just for had a commitment of $20,000. And then once the paperwork has been prepared, has been finalized, he has to transfer the balance again to the bank account of the seller. So the buyer will stay 8 working days in Africa, whether Mali, Sierra Leone, or Conakry. Mhm.
Uh,
Yes,
am I understand clear? Okay, the buyer, when they are agreed both sides regarding the quality of the commodity, everything is fine, satisfying with the purity and the quality. So when they are signing the sales purchase agreement, buyer has to make first payment to the seller account, right? Either way 40%, 50%, or whatever the number they've been agreed. After that, the seller company, mining company, was taking the gold to the central bank for preparing the export documentation and the certification of the goods, etc. So once
that's right.
remaining balance, either way 50 or 60%, buyer has to do his duty for fully transaction remaining balance to the seller account
Correct.
because the central bank will not release the gold until they pay fully payment. So that
Correct.
is that is the regular procedure. But now I'm listening. You are telling me the central bank will not release the gold until the fully payment. This is
Correct.
correct. But when is there still it should be some 1 or 2 working days time to buyer make this payment after the inspection the gold in the mining company office, right?
Yeah, but the 3 working days to clear the payments. So
Oh,
when
yeah.
the balance will be transferred again, he has to stay another 3 working days, in total of 6 to 8 days, because sometimes the office are too slow. Okay, sometimes they have a
Yeah.
holiday, and the
Yeah.
office is closed, so you need to
Oh,
give an allowance. Yes.
yeah, and depends of the banking working hours and how they are busy too, because banks serving a lot of clients.
Correct. So the payment from the buyer's bank account to the seller's bank account goes to the corresponding bank in New York. So the payment will stay on the corresponding bank account in order for the corresponding bank to validate the money, whether the money is clean, whether the money is not involved with money laundering. So from the corresponding bank, then the corresponding bank transfer the payment into the seller's local bank. So that is why it takes 3 working days or 72 hours. So when the receipt, because the bank will inform the seller that the money has been cleared. So the receipt of clearance, that we call that the cash inflow, the seller will show that to central bank that I am now applying to get all the export documentation. Then the central bank will issue the certificate of clearance that the gold of the owner of the gold from the seller is free of illegal activities, and the central bank will require the owner of the gold mining license, export license, and the tax
Mhm.
clearance of the seller. So the seller has to provide all necessary documentation on his company to the central bank.
Yes.
So those people that all bring the gold to central bank, it wouldn't work. That is why the buyer failed. That is why the buyer trouble, failure, failure, failure. Mhm. Now, I'm interviewing you right now. Our conversation is live. So now I will give you the copy, and you can watch that so that you can tell that to your client that this is how you are going to follow. If you cannot follow Mr. Buyer, then don't be involved in this gold commodities. Don't be involved. The buyer must have a standby cash, because when he travel with me, he has to inform his bank that he is buying valued goods to Africa. So the contract, he has to review the contract, and he has to inform his bank manager that he is going to transfer the payment buying valued goods. His bank will say, why are you transferring money in Africa? Because Africa is a red flag of gold laundering. So everything must be on document. Must be. The manager
Yeah.
of the owner of the bank account of the buyer will question, oh, you're sending money in Africa. Africa is a red flag. Yes, it is a red flag. Yes. Mm. So
It is
then,
nonsense actually. These people they are, you know, doing international business. All these precious minerals and metals and other commodities which is available in Africa. Why they are putting the red flag on the Africa? As long as everybody doing their job according to World
no,
Trade
because
Organization.
many years ago, there they can sell gold to any street people. So the buyer is excited, and the seller is from village. He can sell it. Okay, here's my price. But how that buyer would able to bring out of the country without paperwork? Smuggled it?
Well, that is the time that yeah, the government, every particular country government, they have to enforce to the seller companies, mining companies, in order to get
That's
ready
right.
all this necessary procedures document, and the
That's
government
right.
should be observed.
That's right. That is why 2024, those small seller and then floating on LinkedIn, floating on WhatsApp, selling gold, that is very dangerous. You need to buy gold to a licensee
Yeah.
himself that can export to you. Now, the question last night, an Indian guy, he said, I have a license in Dubai, but I don't have license to buy. I said, you have a license in Dubai, you can buy gold in Africa because the seller has a license to export to you.
Mm-hmm.
Then the gold will be shipped it to your destination, your consignee. You need to give us all who is your consignee. When the buyer send a
Mm-hmm.
letter of interest, the consignee must be on the letter of interest. Let's say
Yes.
the LOI from the buyer. Dear Mrs. Ford, I saw you on your YouTube. I am really certain to buy gold. I'm looking to buy 22 plus, which is 23. The purity that I'm looking for is 96 plus. The mode of payment is FOB. Right. So now we will send the buyer a letter of confirmation and the contract. So the contract stipulates everything. What you found me on my platform, exactly the same on the contract. Exactly the same. So the banking details of the seller has to be on the contract and the
Yes.
passport copy and the mining license and the company profile of the seller. So I'm the one who will gather the buyer's vital information, a copy of his business registration, a copy of importation license, a copy of his passport, and a copy of bank statement that he has $500,000 or $1 million standby in his bank account. That bank account, that statement is to signify that he is really
Mm-hmm.
a buyer. If that buyer cannot provide us the bank statement, he is not a buyer. He is not. He's a joker buyer. Mhm. So that
Yeah.
information of the buyer will be intact with Wilhelmina because Wilhelmina will review that. And when I review that, I myself will call the buyer himself that I receive your letter of interest on the company letterhead of the buyer, the address, and the consignee. Right. The consignee means who is going to receive the gold on his
Mm-hmm.
destination because it must
And
be on the
buyer.
contract, must be on the
And buyer.
documentation. Yeah.
Yeah.
On the paperwork, must be on the name of the buyer and the consignee. Mhm. So the consignee, let's say the gold will be shipped to Dubai. So the consignee, the receiver, he is going to clear in custom. So now our job, once the paperwork's done and the gold is fully paid, the gold will be handed over to the logistic. Now, last night I was talking to the Indian guy and I told him there is a logistic called MS Logistic. Their headquarters is in Dubai and they have branch in Mali, Sierra Leone, and Conakry. Contact them because that is not my business. That is not my job. My job is to sell the gold. Okay? Now, when the buyer send all his paperwork, I have to accompany the buyer in the office, but I have cost to travel. I am going to charge the buyer for my extra service to accompany the buyer. Mhm. So,
Yes.
even though 8%, because I'm charging the buyer from to cover my travel cost, instead of 8%, I will give the buyer 10 to 12% because of my services. So at the end of the day, the buyer is a winner. He can sell the gold to 2%, he get 10% profit. But if he cannot afford my $20,000 of my service cost, he can travel 8%. Mhm. So which one he likes? 8% or 12%? So this 2024, This business is only for the real buyer. There's
Yeah,
no more joker buyer. Oh, I want discount. I want 20%. That kind of buyer is a bullshit buyer. Yeah, because money is not a bullshit. Gold is money. Mhm. Gold is a tax haven. Why people buy gold? To protect themselves because of the inflation. Gold is money they're buying. Mhm. Why, as I always mention that, Ramis, why Russians are building refinery in Africa? Why? They need gold. Mhm.
yeah, they have the government side is a little bit slightly different because of their keeping their sovereignty, and you know the Russia has so much sanction like Iran, or because of the U.S. policy, and Russia ruble is now safe on the gold, not in US dollar. So Russia has some gold in the mainland in Russia. However, they are trying to also some collect from Africa, and as
They
well
want more
as
gold.
they
They
as
want
their
more.
foreign policy, they want to be also taking position in Africa to increase their business volume and capacity. Can you imagine? It's Africa and Asia. If they cooperate, they don't need the United States or Europe because Asia and African market they're enough to collaborate and survive.
Why Chinese are already positioning in Africa? Chinese are getting gold and then bring it to China to make into different uses. China has a huge reserve of gold. That is why their money is really stable. The hotel I stayed in Africa owned by Chinese. They don't speak English. They go to the village and mine. Right. They are buying and leasing the land in exchange of infrastructure. The Chinese lend money to Africa in exchange of their wealth. And those small trader, they think that they can make money. Yes, you can make money if you have the money. You cannot make money. You're gonna say, bring it to Dubai, bring it to Hong Kong. We will pay after final asset. That kind of buyer is a scrupulous buyer. He is a scrupulous. You got me, Ramis?
Yeah, in my case, because People's Republic of China, they are one of the biggest and leading manufacturers country in the world, and they need all kind of precious minerals and metals and etc. And they are also spreading their power to the Africa, and they got a lot of construction infrastructure business from Egypt, from Democratic Republic of Congo, and I believe in Zambia too. So in Zambia, they have a huge cathode factory.
Europe needs Africa. Yesterday, there's a
Definitely.
lot of delegation arriving, according to my head office.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Ford. This young Italian thousand US dollar per kilo
Yeah, they
profit.
make a profit of 5,000 per kilo. But they are
Yeah,
greedy. They wanted more, right? They're greedy. Buyers are greedy. And then he knows that gold is money. When he resell it, he make instant money. And I told him, this Indian last night, you will make money if you continues, but it's to start with, you only make a little bit because you can only afford to buy 5 kilos, but we don't sell 5 kilos on 2024.
yeah. Spot base, if they buy 500 kilos or above 1 ton, yeah, that is the time you can give them very good
Yes,
sweet discount. But show me the money first.
exactly. But if you can say, oh, I can buy 1 ton, show me the money, how many millions you have. Hmm.
Yeah, not in words, in reality.
Exactly. So anyway, I our conversation is live. I will give you a copy for this, and uh, and that's all. I will recap our conversation to all buyers around the globe. 4 more days to go. We are now entering 2024. There would be
Yeah,
no chain of joker broker anymore. If you are watching my conversation with Ramis, Listen to this conversation because this is for your own benefit. The seller would not explain to you like this. I was the one who introduced this, but my services is not for free when I travel with the buyer. If you cannot afford, meaning to say you don't have the money. Mhm. If you cannot afford my extra service, to me you are not a businessman because you're buying $500,000. Why you cannot afford? And then in fact, when I come to the office with you, 100% guarantee you will get the gold because I'm very thorough. I guide the buyer step by step, and there is always room for negotiation in the table. There is, but
Yes.
on the contract, we'll do the contract, and the contract there is a provision on the contract. We'll print out the contract. I was the one will negotiate on behalf of the buyer. I will ask the seller to
Yes.
lay give the buyer a leeway. Mhm. My seller say, "Well, Amina, you're giving away money." Mhm. But I told my seller, "Give this greedy buyer a little bit of leeway because they're greedy." Mm. Yeah, buyers are greedy. I just finished talking to this the guy from Netherlands this morning, referred by Robert. He didn't meet the criteria. He wanted to buy 500 grams. I said, no, we don't sell 500 grams. Hmm. See?
Amazing people. Amazing.
The thing that you can make money, you can make money if you have $1 million to invest. Hmm. Another American, he called me. He saw me on my YouTube. Oh, he's asking 25%. I told him, are you kidding? Are you kidding? 25%. And his ancestor is African. He was born in United States, but he is African American. His parents is from Congo. Reject. I told
Okay.
him go to
So
Congo.
why he cannot go and there in Congo? Why he is not buying gold from Congo?
Yeah, because he's scared, and I told him, why are you gonna be scared? I'm a woman. I'm not scared with anybody. Hmm.
No, they are just the jokers.
Or
I'm
they have
sorry
no
for these
balls.
people, but they
They're
are
just
just
sitting
jokers.
down in their computer. They, this guy, they think they can make money. You cannot make money if you don't have a capital. You cannot.
Yeah.
You cannot. But anyway, that's my conversation, and you will uh, you will hear our conversation on my platform on Facebook, and then you can have a copy. All right, Ramis.
All right. Thank you, dear sister. It has been always pleasure to having such a serious and useful conversation with you. You have two requests to join and request to your Facebook group if you like to confirm them. It's all up to you. I believe one from
Which one?
United States. Your Facebook group, the Golden Diamond, your group, Ilhalmina,
Yeah.
for the Golden Diamond group, you have to join and request one male and one female. And I didn't mention you a couple of days ago, someone from Morocco get in touch with me from the messenger, over the messenger. And he was asking me, he has some precious gemstone, 100 pieces. He was asking me, do you have any buyer to help me to sell them in Egypt? I told them, if you can send me your official document, we can understand this gemstone belongs to you and they are clean and clear so that we can help you. So he understand I'm a serious business person. So he said just okay and disappear. That's how it is. Why should I lose my time?
Yeah,
I
that's
don't know
right.
the story of the gemstone. Are they been stolen? Are they been smuggled? It is not my concern. You just make the proof so that we can help you. So I'm not dealing. Why should I waste my time?
The stone has
Simply.
been stolen, and that stone has to have a Kimberly certificate. Without that, don't
Yeah,
touch it. Don't touch it.
yeah, that's it.
Mm. Anyway, nice talking to you, and a happy New Year.
Thank
4 days
you.
more to go. We are entering 2024.
Yes, hopefully.